Generally, what is seen that when people hit the failures, they just give up. They think that there is no way out, and they can never become successful in their life. So it's quite difficult for these people to bounce back. And I read somewhere that failure should be viewed as a small mark on the road to success, not the nail in the coffin. Right. And generally, people think that once they have failed, so there is no way out. They consider failure to be a kind of experience which can never let them get out of it. So someone told that failure should be viewed as a small mark on the road to success.
Mhm.
And he also said that failure is a detour, not a dead end. Right. So this can give you many experiences. I've also learned a lot in my life because the kind of person I was not able to speak in front of anybody, and I had to struggle a lot. But one thing I learned in the process, that no matter what, if you stick yourself, if you stick to your goals, I think you not doesn't matter, you reach that particular goal or not, but it teaches you a lot in the process, right? For example, you learn to bounce back. You have, develop your resilience. That is important because life doesn't always go the way you want. Sometimes, what happens, we think that things should happen according to a timetable, but
Right.
each has its own timetable. So this is something which we are going to talk about. We are going to talk about that. Means what is the role of failures in life? Can it be a catalyst to your success, or what people should be taking it as? Because generally, failure is a word which people don't really want to hear, and people don't really want to experience. So before we dive into it, I want you to say something about the same, and then we will be discussing very important points which people really want to know, and they want them to be simplified. Over to you.
Okay, good evening to you and good evening to everyone. And let me say a few things on it before we go deeper into the topic. Let me compare failure specifically with a storm.
Hmm.
So, mostly people say that a storm occurs and comes to disrupt our life. Most people consider in this way, but not all storms, you can say, come to disrupt your life. Sometimes they come to clean your path.
Yes.
So it should facilitate you and help you achieve your target in a minimal time period. So first of all, we have to be positive about every events that happen in our life. Positivity is the only sole factor which really boosts up even in our hardship. Life is full of complications. Life is full of struggle. Competition is developing and building up on a regular basis. These are few things which are universal truth, and therefore it's very comfortable. It would be for us if you get familiarized with those universal truth. So the first thing which we will love to discuss in this part is that we don't need to treat failure as a complete end of life or
Yes.
should be seen as a destruction of life. Rather, it should be taken and understood as a stepping stones. With the help of it, we achieve certain target in our life. Many success people have their histories and they reflected that how due to their hard work, solely due to their hard work, they actually achieved milestones and they actually set up those particular benchmark for the generation to come and see and try to cross that. So this is all very important, and I think these things are not properly educated to people. And I always consider school as a complete failure as an form institution, which
Yes.
somewhere fails to impart this very nectar of life to especially students right in their nascent stage.
Yes.
Because when students, come and start getting enrolled in those institutions, this is the time where we can mold them. They are just like a clay or a rock clay. So we have to mold them. How we can mold them? By teaching them right uh, lessons, by preaching them on right path, so that these things could be at least manageable. Management is very important because it is seen that often people succumb to these failures even before they go and think of taking off their career. 90% people have these problems. Only 10 percent people have this knack of realizing things in a different way. So to understand effectively, we need to understand that why it is important to maintain a positivity all the time and maintain a certain kind of confidence, a great degree of confidence. And I think everything is going to be clear. So we will talk many things about failures and how we could see failure as some important lessons of life and what we can learn from the failures and what is more important, it is a failure or the success. All these things we are going to cover in this video. What do you?
One point which we have to discuss is failure is a catalyst for growth. I've learned a lot from failures in my life because I've failed many times, not once, not twice, not thrice, but many times. And every time when I failed, I got to know so many new things and that I wouldn't have learned otherwise. For example, when you fail, what you can learn from it. You can learn that where you went wrong, what you lagged in, and whether your plans were good or not, or whether you failed somewhere in the execution of those plans, or you couldn't learn as much as you should, right? So many things can be drawn from your failures, but this only happens when you are ready to learn. Some people actually, I've seen, if I when I look around, I find that even the people, the parents, the teachers, nobody's actually getting the kids ready for facing the failures. They what do they teach them? They say that you're going to be the strongest one, you're going to be the most successful person. Means nobody teaches them that when failures hit you, then
Right.
how would you just bounce back? How would you rise? Right? Nobody teaches this. I think this is the reason that people are when people fail, they fail to accept it, right? Because acceptance is going to be quite difficult when somebody feels whether they think that the society will be looking down upon them because they're a failure, or they haven't reached where they were talking to people that I would be reaching somewhere, right? So I think here people should be learning to build some kind of resilience.
Mm.
And this is only possible when person's failure works or acts as a catalyst for their growth, right? And it
Mm.
is possible this can do this. So Robin, I want you to say something about the same. I mean, how failure can function as a catalyst for growth.
Okay, let's understand this in this way. There is a famous proverb, and which goes like this, that if you don't pay for the product that you are using, it means you are a product. Okay, so time for us is much like a product, and we have to pay something for that. So what is the payment has to be made from our side is our efforts. I'm
Yes.
not even talking about the success, which is the last consequence of our actions. I'm not even bothering about it. What I'm talking and what I'm wanting my audience to understand is that we have to make efforts, we have to make attempts at any cost. Now, this is on our part, and this we can comfortably do. Something which is in our control, that's what I'm saying. So, what is in our control is to make efforts, and what goes beyond our control is the consequences of our efforts. So, let me make it very clear that something which is under control, it's better for us to be confined by, because if you go beyond your limits, then ultimately you put unnecessary stress on yourself.
Yes.
It builds up, even if you don't want, but it continues to build up. And trust me, stress, panic have a direct bearing on your productivity.
Yes.
It is going to be affected, right? So things are very clear. Many philosophers have said it, reiterated this, that it's better to focus on task at hand, and there is nothing else to be bothered about. Now, how these failures can become catalysts for us? See, experience is one of the most important, the crucial thing in our life, and one must not undermine and undervalue the experiences. When we say experience and when we talk about experience, what we are actually trying to indicate, which includes both success and failures, more failures, less success, right? So many people whom we call really successful people have more experiences of failures than success. Success is the last product of them. And trust me, those who are successful today, they are really down to earth. You know why? Because they have realized that the failure that plays a crucial role in the life can never be played by the success in their life. They know this very well. People who are pompous, people who are believing in showing ostentatious attitude, especially as a being a success people, they really don't care about this reality of the life. So when we say failure is a catalyst, it means that failure is only our stepping stones that
Yes,
helps us to move ahead. For instance, if we observe closely those scientists and their works and the professions, one scientist cannot be attributed for any particular discovery or invention. You will say there are a number of scientists previously have done the same work. It is much like a thing which has been passed on from one to other continuously from
yes.
years to years, right? One hypothesis is made by one and then it is transferred to the other and then new hypothesis is added, making it more extended version, and then it goes to the third scientist. And that's how the entire, science and the inventions are completed. So does it mean that the previous scientist who couldn't achieve from his scientific research could not be held as scientist or could not be recognized as scientist or could not be treated as a successful person? Obviously not. Because if you even learn out of your experiences, your failures is actually telling you that these are the things which are no longer fruitful. So it's better to avoid all those steps. Famous scientist Albert Einstein, oh, famous scientist Edison,
Edison, he
you know,
failed
yes, we
10,000
all know about
times.
his attempts. He has made thousands of attempts to actually reach the final product of bulb. So when someone asked him, what about his 9999 attempts, which were failure? Then he said that I'm quite comfortable that at least I know by this time now that these 999 attempts cannot be used as a part of this invention, which is not going to give you any fruit. So I'm not going to use those 990. So it is also a part of success, isn't it? You are gathering as a person, as a life, a lot of experiences in you. And trust me, if you gather a lot of experiences, whatsoever you have done to your life, but I'm sure you are going to nurture life around people around you so good, and they are becoming, they probably will get more experience from you, right? So I think it's better to be stick to our work. Let's take every failure as a catalyst, because until you taste this failure, then I think your inner conscious cannot be awakened. Our mind, our soul needs a certain kind of jerk. And the jerk happens only when you feel some hit. And that hit must go directly dealt, especially with your inner, conscious. And it's only possible when you face this, failures. So therefore, we conclude that failure is a catalyst of life, which really helps us to move towards the success. What do you?
You must have heard that when somebody says, and somebody has said, I don't know who this person is, that when you succeed, you can lead, but when you fail, you can guide, right?
Right.
So when somebody fails, and I've seen that most of the people who are the most successful people on the planet have faced failures many times in their lives, and these failures have made them so strong that they can now face anything, any challenge which comes in the way, right? Because in the professional's life is not that easy. We can see that they are so successful, but this success doesn't come that easy, and they've got so many responsibilities, and to be able to handle those responsibilities, they are supposed to be very strong. And how could they become so strong? Because they have suffered many failures, and those failures have made them so strong that nothing affects them that much, right? So the next thing we have to discuss is that when somebody feels, it gives them a lot of pain, but we are learning through that pain, right? So what do you think about learning through pain? Because in my view, or I've read about many people's lives, biographies, and I've come to know that these people's success didn't come without these adversities, difficult times. Because when you undergo something difficult, something challenging, you realize what you're made of. You realize how capable you are. You realize how much potential is there in you. Otherwise, I think you can never realize. For example, when somebody is chasing you and they are going to harm you, then you realize, then you just give them a good time. Means you run so fast, and you just want to dodge them, and then you will suddenly realize that, oh, it was me who can run so fast. So when this realization happened, when you really were pushed to your limits. So this is the case with failure. Failure forces you to go beyond your capacity, go beyond your ability. And I think this is how we learn through pain. And what do you think about this? Just you tell me.
Okay, I hold a little, or you can say, contrastingly opposite view on this. I know I may not be right on this, but this is my personal observation and experience that people who feel pain, especially throughout their journey of achieving any task, is often seen to be one who really faces hard time, hardship, and therefore he is less productive, and therefore he's also less result oriented at the same time. Why I'm saying it? Because pain is a detestable experience. Suffering is an abhorring experience. Human psychology detests it, abhor it, and therefore to demand and expect competency and rightful productivity from the same psychology, I think is absolutely impossible. We perform good and well only when our conscious is properly working under our control and is at ease. This is really important. For example, there is a proper, data, and it is thoroughly researched that people under cold climate have a great degree of productivity comparing to those living in, especially in uh, hot areas and hot regions, right? Because we have this body and we want the body to produce something. Therefore, we have to fulfill certain requirements of the body to to utilize its maximum potentials. Every person has its potential and their degrees, but it could be utilized to the maximum point only when it is given a certain kind of uh, appropriate environment, right? So in the same way, if we feel pain during our work, according to me, it is not going to be good for entire result that we are really expecting. What we should rather do is that if there is any possibility that we have to adapt, not adapt, we have to adopt our particular task as it is our delight. And then the result that comes out from it itself becomes, you can say, miraculous. So those who have really done a great discoveries, inventions, philosophers who have really, seen this new dimension of life, could see the higher level of life, are only those who have really and thoroughly enjoyed their task. This is really point which needs to be considered, is that how much you feel enjoyed while performing your task. If there is an ounce of pain while you perform your task, there is a possibility that you might somewhere feel a little setback in the same and may not be able to reach the desirable result. So this is the first and the foremost thing, according to me, is that we have to sideline this pain. We have to reduce it at any cost if you really want that our potential to be properly utilized to the maximum point. This is really important. Many people have agreed to this very point that we have to prepare ourselves in a way where our intention should be properly synchronized with the task at hand. If your intention are not prone towards your task, or maybe you are less intent, then you may also give 24 hours in your work. And to people, it may appear that you are really hardworking and tenacious in your task. but there is no such expectation that you will produce some remarkable results out of your job whatsoever you do. So pain, according to me, is not an acceptable experience. However, certain degree of pain which is reasonable. See, there are two forms of pain, according to me, especially when you are going into this very task of achieving certain thing. The first is that which is unnecessarily felt. Unnecessarily felt, which means you are unnecessarily building up, pressure on you, which is absolutely not mandatory and not needed. I really don't include this as a pain because you somewhere are losing overall your control on yourself, and therefore you are driven by and dictated by the influences outside, right? But there is other form of pain, which is reasonable pain. Okay, sometimes people have their financial issues. Sometimes people have their supportive issues where people don't support them, but they have to pursue their task. These level of pain, these forms of pain are really acceptable. And I think as I told you, as long as you are and we are all synchronized with our task from heart to soul, then I think we can't even feel this very experience, which is called pain. And if you feel pain, then ask your question: Are you really uh, into the right task, or is it something that has been imposed on you? So this is really important, which as an argument which I'm making, and one must think about it. So pain is not a reasonable thing that one must experience. Reasonable pain is all okay. It's a part of the journey.
Pain means that for some people this can be very painful because not everybody enjoys failure.
Hmm.
For them, it's very painful. For example, as you get up early in the morning, you go jogging, you go running, you go to gym, and you just pull some iron over there. So for some people, this is very painful. They cannot leave the bed. They
Hmm.
cannot go to the gym. They cannot pull the iron. They cannot really go jogging. So, but why do you do so? Because you just want to see yourself, you want to see your body, to
Hmm.
be muscular. You want to
Right.
see you energized and active. You want to just look fit, and you just want to keep fit. And for this, you are, undergoing this kind of pain. But this may seem a pain to be to other people. But for you, it's a process which you have to go through, right? If you really want to see yourself, in that particular kind of shape. So, and this is why I'm saying that this
I
this
understand.
is going to be painful for some people, but for you, it is a journey, and which because every dream has some price to pay, and I think this is something which we can pay at least, right? Next thing is, don't you think that when somebody fails, this failure can give them a renewed hope and a new direction and a new discovery? Right, because failure shows you that what you failed to discover, what is left to be discovered. And if you failed because you chose this particular direction, I think you should be changing this direction. You should be giving a new direction to yourself, and this is going to take you to that desired goal. This is going to take you to your destination. So this is how this failure is going to give you some redirection, and it is also going to help you discover some new avenues or explore some new avenues, and you will then be thinking that yes, now I've succeeded. So what do you think, how failure gives you redirection and discovery?
I would start this with one proper instance. I mean, have you ever seen a person drowning in a deep river? So when we observe, then you will find that the person will be making hard attempts to actually somewhere get on the surface. So what we learn from this incident is that when we are losing something, and specifically the life itself, then it is a time where we leave no stone unturned. We throw our hands in all possible directions to find out a ray of hope, which could really, help us to get over this whole situation.
Hmm.
Second, which is the converse situation of it, people who are living in their life in all luxury and comfort cannot be expected to do a miraculous task in the society and to set up a benchmark. until they are internally encouraged, and which is a very less, you can say, uh, possibility. Especially many people we have seen so far, out of our experience and through our experience of readings, we will find that people who were almost in the loss of everything and they really didn't have anything for them, they right on the next moment created history. You can say any name, you will find that these people who have really done a great job when they were really losing their life, which means they when they were losing every possible hope in their life. So that's what we say, and compare it with the blooming of lotus. Where does the lotus bloom? Especially in the mud,
Yes.
right? So our true efforts are a result of our hardship. So when you make efforts, especially in your hardship in the face of a struggle, which is going to be a determining efforts for your entire life. And this is not just limited to your success. See, the problem with humans is that we have only one standard to actually evaluate this entire, event of life, and that is success. Efforts are only evaluated on the basis of the degree of the success it
Success a
has
person has
achieved,
achieved.
or
Yes.
it has actually, you can say, somewhere got. But I
Nobody
think this,
sees the struggle a person has been through, and how the person has overcome those struggles. Nobody see this.
no, nobody. In fact, I have listened to many successful people. I've read many books about those successful people. Most of them have the common views, especially on this point. They say that your success is not about your final result.
Mm.
Your success is your facing up, countering your continuous, failures, and your overpowering those. This is what determines your rate of success. We are only focused on the last resort, or the last, you can say, result, that is the overall consequences, sum up of everything. But philosophically it is not accepted. And even, what you can say, I mean, there are many such experiments which actually reveal the same thing, that our efforts, especially the true efforts, are those efforts when you make, especially in your hard time, right? So I don't think that we people need to think in this way. I think we have to develop a little bit more and open and explore more dimensions of life, because what we are seen and told to see is just a particular kind of influence. And since we are very much open to the entire social system, in which there comes number of networking arrangements, social media channels, and other forms of interactions, which are constantly influencing us. So somewhere we have lost our personal identity itself, and therefore we are not able to see the life beyond it. But we have to see life beyond it, and in this way we can do this.
Person should be proud of his own, kind of struggles, they have been through, because people, no matter how, no matter what the level of your, or what the degree of a success is, nobody can see how difficult, what are the difficult things you've been through. And I think you don't need to even prove it, because you know how much efforts you made, right? How much struggle you've been through, and nobody else can ever realize it. So there is no need to prove it. I think how successful you are in terms of overcoming those challenges. The next thing we have to discuss is many famous people, right? Say, suppose, J.K. Rowling was there, and Thomas Alva Edison was there, and many such, people who had faced failures, but they turned out to be successful. They emerged victorious. So, what do you think? How these famous failures, found success in their life in spite of having been through so many difficulties, so many failures? What was
See, I want to
what was one
include,
common thing?
yeah.
What was one common thing in them?
See, first of all, I would not love right now to take these people as a part of this discussion, because I still believe there's, even you can talk about Steve Jobs and J.K. Rowling. All these undoubtedly have struggled a lot in their life. They first tasted the failure, the bitter failure in their life, and then they took off. right? So they rose above the ground in this way. But what I'm talking is that we don't need to even take these people as our part of study. We live in a country where the next person is dealing with a struggle in their life.
Yeah,
Literally, man. Why? Because these people are not even educated, and moreover, these people have no such supportive system which could really inspire them, which could really help them. Third important thing, we come from a developing nation, it's not a developed yet. So no, not much expectations could be, you know, I mean, hold especially on the government part, right? So it is us who have to deal with the situation, right? So when we see all these people, what we learn is that they are continuously doing hard work, especially even in the face of a struggle, even when they have nothing to lose, but they are struggling, especially, and they are trying to pull themselves up every second moment, especially when they fall down. I mean, I can tell you a number of examples, and these examples are not very popular because no one wants to record those examples, because these people really haven't done anything much bigger, especially in terms of their contribution to the society. But if you see their contribution to their family itself is itself very remarkable. I mean, have you ever seen auto driver, right? Especially in the scorching heat, right, in the May and the June, where how he is able to feed his entire family, and he has no particular security, financial security. He's not even educated. What about his personal overall, I don't know, deposits of the money that he has deposited? No one knows about it. But
no,
still,
these auto drivers are more fortunate than those who are working for on daily wages, right? They are
yes,
having to stand and work under the
that
scorching
is,
sun.
yes, yes. We can take examples of these labor who are
Yeah.
actually leading their life on a regular wages, and they don't even know whether they will have the employment tomorrow or not.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you look life from that standpoint, you will see apart from you or except you, not apart from, except you, except we, every person and most people can be seen doing hard work, especially to that extent. But still, they are mentally so strong, so robust that they don't let themselves feel down, depressed, and that's what makes them little more, encouraging figure. So I think we don't need to look, those high figures. Only you have to open up your eyes and see around, observe a little bit, especially in your surroundings. You will find hundreds of such examples on a routine base where they are really struggling very, very hard. They are fighting for a penny, let alone talking about their diets to be maintained, let alone talking about their gym to be maintained, let alone talking about the children are being properly studied or not. These are the basic things which I'm talking about. And these basic things are what they are deprived of, especially in the city, especially in this country. So I think people's life are full of miseries, but the fortunate thing with them is that they are still, tenaciously hardworking, and they are all uh, positive, much like a sanguine state of mind. So they are almost ready to take every possible change challenge and encounter every particular thing. So they are really strong in this way. So I think these are the best teachers. I think. Over to you.
And last but not the least is this is what I've personally experienced. I've also read this in many books, and I've read also about many people's lives that the advantages of failing. I don't really want to say that people should fail in their life, but if they fail, they should not be taking it negatively. There are so many
Yeah.
advantages of failing in a person's life, right? And they are if you are not emotionally strong, you are going to be emotionally strong. If you don't have any grit, you will be full of grit, and you will be very courageous when you experience failure, because it's easy to say that somebody failed, but ask the person how difficult it is to accept it, and
Right.
how much how much courage it needs to have if a person wants to come out of that situation, right? So it's really gonna build you emotionally. It's gonna make you very strong, in terms of your courage and all. So what I believe is, failure has a lot to offer. I mean, it can be your best teacher. Failure should be our teacher, not undertaker, right? So we should, if we treat it as our teacher, then we will definitely be succeeding in our next, in our journey of our life. If we are considering as our undertaker, I think then it is gonna depress us. We will be depressed, right? So what do you think, how people can build emotional resilience, and how they can become very courageous if they have ever failed in their lives?
Um, I think to be resilient requires, first of all, patience, the habit of being patient throughout the journey. I think the best person who ever lived on this planet is the one who had a great degree of patience, because patience is the key to your success. People accept it or not, but the true success comes only when people manifest the power of patience. Unfortunately, we want solutions, we want success overnight because we are influenced by the external factors. And since it is also the 21st century, things can be easily availed. So, therefore, things can be equalized with success. People have their wrong notions that even success could be overnight achieved. And many people have done that. But the matter which needs to be discussed is that what kind of success you want. See, there is a success which really, infuses a confidence in you. What kind of confidence I'm talking here is the confidence which never feels you upset, which never feels you disappointed, which never puts you in any apprehension. What if you lose that entire wealth? What if you lose the entire status you have acquired just through success? This particular status of mind is completely, you can say, won by those true successful people. I'm not talking about those shallow successful people who have done and achieved the success overnight just by adopting such short tricks, right? So the resilience which we are talking about comes only through practice, the routine or the balanced practice of patience, right? And who have patience? Who have those who have believe in themselves. So once you are sticking to your job and you know that you are doing good and you are honest to yourself and you are fully committed to your work and fully dictated by the principles of life, I'm talking about those principles which are universally accepted. I'm not talking about those principles who are actually dictated or exercised by the hypocritic people. Those sometimes use those principles, especially manipulating with those, and when they feel failure or taste failure, they stop refusing, or they refuse to adopt those principles. So I'm not including that particular section of people in this. I'm included pure category, and pure category refers to those who are really intended towards their success and success of achieving a rightful objective. There is a term called rightful object. Rightful object especially is a term which is used in contract. Means when you have a contract with people, so you have to achieve a certain task or certain kind of objective, right? It should be lawful objective. It should not be unlawful objective, right? So people who have in their mind this lawful objective, and these people are called true successful people because they know the worth of their objective, because they really don't see the worth of objective as limited to them as benefiting, a source of benefiting, but to the entire population or to the large number of populations. And therefore, we call these people sometimes great men. So all these people whom we know as a great men are having the same common traits in them, that whatsoever have they done, they have contributed much of their success to the large number of people. Example, Tata, Ratan Tata ji. So I mean, these are the examples, and so I think we should see in that way. That's what I want to say.
And this is what we want to share with the audience, that yes, life is not guaranteed. You cannot always have success. Failure is an inseparable part of a life. If you succeed in one area of your life, the chances are you may fail in the other area. So when this happens, I think there is no need to give up. There is no need to feel that you are a failure and you can never succeed in your life. This is just this is all about your state of mind. I mean, if you're maintaining positive state of mind, I think you can treat it, or you can take it as a lesson, and you can apply those things which you have learned during this process. I mean, where you went wrong, what things were needed to be done which you failed to do, and what else you can do differently, so that you can again be back on the track. So if people look at the failure in this way, I think they can enjoy even when they have failed, and they can learn a better lesson. They can learn so many good lessons that can do a world of good to them in the at the end of the day. So this is something which we wanted to talk about, and we will again come with a very wonderful topic which people really would love to listen to. Till then, I'm taking a leave, and I'll see you in the next video.